Title: When I declined to fund my daughter's extravagant wedding, she cut me off. 5 days later, she invited me to a peacemaking dinner. When I arrived, 3 attorneys and my ex-wife were waiting with a power of attorney. My ex-wife declared, "Sign it, or you'll never see your grandson again." I calmly reached for my phone, made a call, and said, "Fine. But first, someone wants to speak." Chapter 1, The Sting of Betrayal. It began with a single message. "Since you won't cover the wedding costs, don't bother showing up. You're blocked." Those words hit harder than I anticipated. My daughter, the little girl who once clung to my hand on her way to school, had just erased me from her life because I refused to finance her lavish, 6-figure wedding fantasy. That night, I sat in the stillness of my office, gazing at a picture of her as a child, her pigtails swaying as she pedaled her bicycle. I had funded her education, bought her first car, and even cleared her credit card debt once. But this was different. I wasn't going to let her manipulate me into draining my savings for her extravagance. 5 days later, my phone buzzed. Her voice was gentler this time. "Dad, let's talk. Come to dinner. Let's make things right." Despite the hurt, hope stirred in my chest. Maybe she felt remorse. Maybe we could mend what was broken. I agreed. But when I stepped into the restaurant, my stomach dropped. She wasn't alone. 3 lawyers sat at the table, folders neatly arranged before them. My ex-wife, as smug as she was during our divorce, leaned back with her arms folded. Then came the blow. "Sign this power of attorney," she said icily, pushing the documents toward me, "or you'll never see your grandson again." The room seemed to tilt. My daughter averted her eyes, a flicker of guilt crossing her face, but she stayed silent. I reached into my pocket, pulled out my phone, and dialed a number I'd kept for years. I gave a calm smile to the table. "Sure," I said evenly, "but first, someone wants to speak." The atmosphere in the restaurant crackled with tension. Chapter 2, The Voice That Changed Everything. Every pair of eyes was fixed on me. My ex-wife smirked, confident she had me trapped. The lawyers adjusted their papers, ready for my signature. My daughter squirmed, avoiding my gaze, but the steadiness in my tone unsettled them. The call connected, and a deep, authoritative voice came through the speaker. "This is Judge Carter." "Who's this?" My ex-wife's face went pale. One lawyer fumbled, dropping his pen. I set the phone in the center of the table. "Your Honor, I'm at a dinner with my ex-wife, my daughter, and 3 attorneys who just threatened me. They've presented a power of attorney and said if I don't sign, I'll never see my grandson again." The judge's pause was heavy, like a storm brewing, then his voice sliced through. "That's extortion. It's illegal. Do not sign anything. I'll issue orders tomorrow morning. Preserve every document you've been given." My ex-wife tried to laugh it off. "Oh, please, it's just a family issue, nothing major." But the judge shut her down. "I'll determine that. You and whoever orchestrated this may face legal consequences. Say nothing more." Her smirk vanished. The lawyer's confidence melted into nervous sweat. My daughter's eyes met mine, wide with shock. Minutes ago, they thought they held all the cards. They believed I'd collapse under the threat of losing my grandson. But with one call, the tables turned. And this was just the start. The restaurant's chatter faded as my phone sat at the table's center, Judge Carter's words lingering in the air. Chapter 3, The Trap Unravels. The 3 attorneys shifted uncomfortably. One cleared his throat, attempting to defuse the situation. "This is a misunderstanding, just a family discussion, nothing serious." But their shaky hands gave them away. They knew exactly what they'd done. And they knew it wasn't just a family matter anymore. It was a legal one. The judge's voice cut through their excuses like a blade. "Misunderstanding? 3 licensed attorneys threatening a man with loss of family access unless he surrenders his assets. I suggest you think carefully about your professional licenses." The lawyers' faces blanched. The stack of papers on the table now seemed toxic. My ex-wife slammed her hand on the table. "This wasn't supposed to happen. You were supposed to sign and this would all be done." Her voice broke, louder than she meant. Nearby diners turned, whispering, their eyes locked on the unfolding drama. For a woman obsessed with appearances, the public spectacle was a fresh wound. Then my daughter broke. She buried her face in her hands, sobbing. "Mom, stop. This is wrong. I just wanted a wedding. I never wanted this." Her voice shook with regret. For the first time, she looked at me with guilt, not defiance. The lawyers pushed their chairs back, mumbling about needing to leave. They wanted no part of what was coming. What started as their trap had spiraled into chaos. The attorneys fled, my daughter wept, and my ex-wife's anger boiled over, all under the watchful eyes of strangers in a packed restaurant, with a judge still listening on the line. The power had shifted entirely, and I wasn't done yet. Chapter 4, The counterattack asterisk, the restaurant had fallen into a tense hush. Every diner was watching, meals forgotten, conversations abandoned. My ex-wife seethed, my daughter cried softly, and the lawyers had already retreated. But for me, the time for defense was over. It was time to push back. I slid the unsigned documents back toward my ex-wife. They sat like a useless weight between us. You wanted me to sign, instead I'm filing tomorrow. Her head jerked up, eyes narrowing. Filing what? I smiled, my tone unshaken. For custody rights, for financial audits. For a restraining order, if necessary. And the court will hear it from the same judge who just heard every word of your scheme tonight. The judge, still on speaker, confirmed it sharply. Sir, I'll ensure your filings are fast-tracked. What I heard tonight won't be overlooked. As for you, ma'am, consider this a warning. Do not contact him outside of court. My ex-wife's jaw dropped. The control she thought she had was gone in moments. My daughter finally met my eyes, tears streaming down her face. Dad, I didn't know they'd do this. I just wanted peace. Her voice trembled, and in that instant I saw the frightened girl beneath the entitled facade my ex-wife had cultivated. I reached across the table, resting my hand on hers. You'll always have peace with me, but not through lies. She nodded slowly, guilt weighing her down. They had lured me here to trap me, to force my hand with threats and deceit. But in less than an hour, their reconciliation dinner had become their public downfall. With strangers watching, a judge listening, and the law turning its gaze on them. And I still had one final move to make. Chapter 5, the courtroom triumph. The next morning, I walked into the courthouse with my attorney, documents ready. Charges of coercion, attempted extortion, custody filings, motions for financial discovery. Everything Judge Carter promised was fast-tracked. By the time my ex-wife and her legal team tried to respond, the court date was already set. Their smug advantage had vanished. In the hearing, my lawyer played the recording from the restaurant, the threats, the power of attorney papers, the judge's voice confirming it all. The courtroom fell silent, save for the nervous tapping of my ex-wife's nails. My daughter sat behind me, head bowed, unable to face her mother. The judge leaned forward. This was not reconciliation, this was manipulation, and this court will not stand for it. The power of attorney was declared fraudulent and void. Custody arrangements shifted in my favor, ensuring I'd never be cut off from my grandson. My ex-wife's financial records were subpoenaed, revealing questionable spending of funds she had no claim to. The lawyers from that dinner were referred to the bar for disciplinary action. Each ruling landed like a sledgehammer, not just legal victories, but a public dismantling of her scheme. As the gavel fell, I glanced at her. The woman who days earlier had sneered, "Sign or lose your grandson," now sat trembling, her eyes hollow. I said nothing. I didn't need to, the courtroom spoke for me. The dinner had been her ambush, but the courtroom was my arena. And she left it not with triumph, but with humiliation, broken credibility, and the bitter knowledge that her grandson would grow up knowing the truth. Chapter 6. The aftermath. The courtroom wasn't the end, it was the start of a deeper reckoning. My ex-wife's life unraveled swiftly. Reputation destroyed asterisk. Her scheme became the talk of family gatherings, whispered about with pity or contempt. Friends who once admired her ambition now avoided her, unwilling to be tied to such a scandal. Legal fallout asterisk. The state bar launched an investigation into the lawyers who supported her plan. The once confident attorneys now fought to save their careers. Social isolation asterisk. Even her closest allies distanced themselves, embarrassed by her actions. For a woman who thrived on control, the public humiliation was a wound she couldn't heal. My daughter, meanwhile, faced her own reckoning. At first, she was too ashamed to speak to me at length, haunted by her role in her mother's plan. But over time, watching how I treated her son, my grandson, with unwavering love and no manipulation, she saw the truth. Years later, she confessed, "Dad, that dinner was the worst mistake I ever made. I was used, but you never gave up on me. That's why I'll never let anyone keep my son from you." Her words were a bridge rebuilt. Our relationship grew stronger, rooted in honesty. My grandson, the boy once used as a pawn, grew up knowing the difference between deceit and devotion. He didn't just see me as a grandfather, he saw me as a model of integrity. At his high school graduation years later, he hugged me first, whispering, "Grandpa, you showed me what family really is." In that moment, every scar from that night at the restaurant faded. I didn't just win in court. I won in life. My finances stayed secure, my home stable, my integrity untouched. More importantly, I lived with peace, free from their manipulations. When people asked about the ordeal, I didn't dwell on it. I simply said, "Some dinners change everything. That one taught me to trust the truth." That night, my ex-wife had hissed, "Sign this or you'll never see your grandson grow up." But in the end, the truth turned her threat upside down. I see my grandson every week. She's the one who lost. Epilogue, a legacy of truth years later, the ripples of that night still shaped our lives. My ex-wife's world crumbled faster than she could rebuild it. Her reputation was in tatters. Family spoke of her with pity, and friends shunned her. The lawyers who backed her scheme never regained their standing, and no one dared assist her again. The woman who demanded control over my assets couldn't even control her own life. My daughter's transformation was profound. The shame of siding with her mother lingered, but watching me with her son, loving, steady, and free of deceit, showed her the difference between manipulation and care. She rebuilt our bond, ensuring her son grew up with me as a constant presence. My grandson, once a bargaining chip, grew up knowing the truth. He saw the contrast between arrogance and honor, between lies and love. At his milestones, I was there, front and center, while his mother faded into the background of her own making. I lived free, my dignity intact, my heart full. When asked about that night, I'd say, "Some dinners reveal everything." That one showed me the power of standing firm. My ex-wife had sneered, "Sign or lose your grandson." But years later, I'm the one at his side while she's the one who lost him. That was the ultimate justice. Was this justice deserved? What do you think of this tale? Share your thoughts below. If you believe this story of standing firm is justified, pass it along to someone who needs its strength. Follow Lauren's stories for more gripping tales of betrayal and triumph. Because here, every deception meets its reckoning and every betrayal casts its shadow. Stay vigilant, stay resilient, and stay tuned.